Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bad Brad Berkwitt Show on the Ringside Reports YouTube channel. Now here's your host, who moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma from the East Coast, Bad Brad Berkwitt.
Hello folks, lots of snow out there and ice, and we know what that means. Oklahoma drivers, forget about it. You add a little bit of ice into the mix and hey, anyways, we're not here to talk about snow or ice though. So let's get this show started. Come fly with me. My guest today is from Choctaw, Oklahoma, and is the administrator for the Oklahoma State Athletic Commission. Now, before we start, this is a gentleman that I've seen in action many times in his entire commission. I've seen him cover boxing, and I've seen him cover MMA events. And I gotta tell you, like I do in the video recaps, he does an outstanding job. The man is aces in my book. And I say that because I've seen many commissions over the years covering boxing and MMA and kickboxing as well. Cannot say enough great things about this gentleman. And with that said, please welcome to the show, Joe Miller.
How you doing?
All right, great to have you on the show.
Glad to be here.
You had a good drive?
Fairly good.
Fairly good.
Roads were all dry.
They were all dry?
Till I got to Tulsa.
So you got to Tulsa?
Till I got to Tulsa.
Okay, now there was no cows or anything crazy?
Nothing too crazy.
Nothing
Maybe
too
a deer
crazy.
or two.
A deer or two, you had to dodge out of the way?
And a possum.
And a possum. Well, that's what we're going to eat for lunch, so if you hit it, hopefully
That's what I was hoping for.
Well, hey, first of all, what I want to start out with, we're in 2015, as we know, and are there going to be any major changes with the commission this year from last year?
No real major changes at all. We've added some policies in this year in regard to some medical testing that is going to step up a little bit. And that is basically just some changes in the questionnaire that the fighters fill out in regards to sickle cell and in regards to head trauma.
Okay. Okay, so those will be the changes that we'll see this year. Okay. Now, I also understand that you're involved, not that the session is in down in Oklahoma City, that's where they meet, that sometimes you appear. Is there any bills or anything going on that you can actually talk about on camera that you're involved in, or is it something that you can't talk about right now?
This legislative session, there's really nothing that we have in legislation that we can really talk about right now.
Okay. Now, Dan Kirby is a guest that I've had on the show before, and I know you guys have worked together, and he has a lot of respect for you, and like I said, he said in the interview. How does that work? You handle for the viewers, and if you look at the camera for that one, explain your part of the commission. I know you have two different commissions, but so they don't get confused because people know both of you guys. But explain your part, and then explain where Dan Kirby with his stuff. Briefly, if you would.
Federal law mandates that all boxing must be regulated by a commission, whether it be a state commission or a tribal commission. In Oklahoma, we're in a little bit of a unique situation where we have a number of tribes that have boxing and MMA events at their particular venues. A tribal commission has several options in which they can stay in line with the federal law. First, they could compact with the state. Secondly, they could form their own commission and regulate their own events. The third way would be for them to contract with another tribal commission. A lot of the tribes don't have the resources or the assets that in place to be able to form their own commission and fund a commission. So they will rely on the state or another tribe to come in and regulate the events on their tribal land. Now, the few commissions that have established commissions, the Comanches, the Chickasaws, the Potawatomis, and Dan Kirby's tribe, the Muscogee Creek Nation, have all decided to form their own commissions, and I've kind of guided all the commissions along the way to help them get established and be able to regulate boxing and mixed martial arts the way it should be regulated.
Okay. Now, is this your full-time gig, or do you have another job?
This is my full-time job.
Okay.
Only other gig I have is coaching Little League.
Okay.
Baseball, football, and basketball.
Okay.
For grandkids.
Oh, okay. Oh, fantastic. Now, you brought some pictures with you and some trophies. We're going to talk about the boxing part in a little bit. Okay. But if you would, I know who it is. Debbie's a little bit bitter because you brought this particular picture. But tell the folks who that is in that picture.
That's Randy White, a Hall of Fame football player from the Dallas Cowboys.
Go Dallas.
Yeah, go Dallas. They did beat the Saints this year, did they not? Seems to me they did.
I think so.
and where was that at? I happened to meet Randy at an event in Ardmore, Oklahoma about 4 or 5 years ago. I did not realize he was a big boxing fan that he is. He was at the event. I recognized him. I went over and spoke with him a little bit and invited him to sit ringside with me. Okay. He came up and we got to chatting, and that's when I found out how huge of a boxing fan that he really is. He had this great idea that he could take offensive and defensive football linemen that didn't get drafted into the NFL and make boxers out of them. Okay. I think he's still pursuing that to some degree. And if you recall, one of his teammates, Ed Too Tall Jones, actually had a boxing career.
Sure did. He fought as a heavyweight. It was actually undefeated. He didn't fight anybody with a pulse, but he did fight as a heavyweight. And I give him respect. At least he got in the ring. Now, this picture here, which I only see the back of, who's in this picture?
That is a picture of myself with Mickey Ward, okay, and one with Coach Bob Stoops from the Oklahoma Sooners. Okay. That picture was actually taken at an Oklahoma City charity fight night that was held a couple of years ago, whereas they came in as special guests of the commission. Mickey's a great guy, easy to talk to, fun to be around, very accommodating, and just really a good guy.
Okay. And on that note, folks, we're going to take a short commercial break. Health and fitness is everything in life. To achieve both, there is nothing better than a boxing regimen to get you in shape at that special boxing gym. Grimm's Gym is that special place. Located at 8010 Clifton Road in Sacramento, California. Grimm's Gym is owned and operated by Mel Walker, a trainer like no other, who will take you on a fitness journey through unconventional training methods that have yielded results for his students time and time again. So call Grimm's Gym, where there are no contracts, at 916-346-4161. Boxing fans, are you searching for a book that is timeless? A book that not only gives a fighter's perspective, but people involved in the sport and Hollywood celebrities who share their love of boxing? Then the book for you is Boxing Interviews of a Lifetime by Bad Brad Berkwitt. To order your copy in hardcover with dust jacket or paperback, go online to authorhouse.com or call 1-888-519-5121. Is your company looking to achieve more of a market share in its respective area, turning exposure into additional revenue? Well then, the Bad Brad Berkwitt Show is the place you want to spend some of your allotted advertising budget. To find out about purchasing your commercial spot on the Bad Brad Berkwitt Show, call the RSR office at 918-893-7997. We are now back with Oklahoma, I should say administrator. See, we can do this because it's reality TV. For the Oklahoma State Athletic Commission, Joe Miller. Joe, what I want to do now is I want to talk about, you fought as a professional. And if I looked up your record, and I think you turned pro around 1981 if the record. That's pretty accurate. And you actually fought, had a couple fights, and you fought some fairly big names. You fought Wimpy Halstead, and you fought Cedric
Cecil Pettigrew.
Cecil Pettigrew, I'll get it right. And you turned pro as a middleweight or light heavyweight?
As a middleweight.
Middleweight, pretty much. Now, you fought in the era in the 1980s when boxing was magical. What was it like fighting in the 80s, which we wish that boxing would go back to?
It was really neat to be fighting in those days. You know, that was still the days when you had some really big fights going on with some of my heroes,
right?
Sugar Ray Leonard,
right.
When he fought with Hearns and fought, a number of people that he fought.
Okay.
Marvelous Marvin
yep.
Hagler,
Duran,
all those guys. I remember that. It was different than it is now.
Okay.
in Oklahoma, the big fights on the East Coast, West Coast had commissions at that time.
Okay.
Oklahoma didn't have a commission at that time.
I'm glad you addressed it because it's going to ask you
I can remember, and what actually helps me in my job as the director of the commission is I know some of the tricks that fighters will use and some things that we got by with back in those days. I actually fought under several assumed names back in the day. Right. I don't want to admit that because I don't want anybody to know that I might.
You sound like Mike Tyson during the show. He said, back then, not
back
now.
Then, not now, before regulation.
Right.
I can remember the night I fought Cecil Pettigrew, for instance, was in a little bar in Tulsa called Bogies. It was down in the middle of downtown Tulsa. Actually, Dale Apollo Cook was on the same card as I was that day.
There goes that name.
But, nowadays, the way that we regulate, the fighters have dressing rooms, they're in dressing rooms, they're having inspectors watching them get their hands wrapped, making sure they're not ingesting or taking any kind of foreign substances, and really have a good eye on them. Back then, I remember me and Dale sitting next to each other on a pool table wrapping hands.
Wow.
That's
a big difference.
Big difference. Difference.
Now, you have a couple trophies. Now, I understand that you and I have talked before, and you said, hey, my pro career was my pro career, but I had a good amateur career.
Yeah.
And you have 2 trophies. What are the 2 trophies that you brought?
I think the one is when I won the Kansas-Oklahoma Golden Gloves Championship way back, 1975. And this is just another trophy that I had stacked up in my office from 1977.
Okay.
Like I said, I had a really good amateur career.
Right.
I had probably 50 or 60 fights, and I think I lost 4 fights during that time. It was fun for me back then, and I was much younger.
Okay.
I kind of quit boxing for a few years before I turned pro, and what actually made me turn pro is kind of funny. I entered a tough man contest. Okay. Won the tough man contest in Oklahoma City, and I thought, you know what, I'm pretty good. And I decided to start training a little bit. But at the same time, I was married and had a full-time job. So my training ethics were not quite as good as what they were when I was an amateur. So as any fighter that's watching this broadcast right now knows what it feels like to have your lungs on fire. My lungs were always on fire because I was never really in that top condition to compete as a pro. And I had a decent career. I think my record ended up being something like 3 wins and 4 losses. But by then, I knew it was time to hang it up.
Now, what is one thing completely off of the commission in sports that you can share with the viewers that really isn't known about you?
Good question. That's not known about me.
Don't incriminate yourself, as I always tell everybody.
I don't know that I can talk about a lot that is not involved with boxing or sports. Now, when you say something that
maybe it's a hobby, maybe it's something that you do that is not the normal.
I'm very deeply involved in Little League sports with my grandkids, and that probably is my second career. Really, I really enjoy working with kids. I do a lot of hunting and fishing also. I'm a big outdoors type person. Growing up, I learned how to hunt and fish from my father and uncles and stuff. And that goes on a little bit with my Indian side of my heritage.
I had a feeling that Debbie, when we were talking before the show, she figured that you had some. And what type?
Potawatomi Indian. And it's real easy for me talking to you right now because last weekend I went to New York and visited my aunt who just had a surprise 70th birthday. And my father's side of the family were all from New York on Long Island. So.
Oh, from Long Island.
Long Island, yeah.
So I don't talk that fast for you.
Not that fast. I can read you.
Every second or third word. What was since you hunted and you fished? What's your prize catch?
I've caught an 8-pound largemouth bass, and I've killed several really nice deer.
They mounted?
Oh, absolutely mounted.
Where? In the living room?
In my sports room.
In the sports room? Okay. Who is your favorite actor?
Right now, I think I really like Kevin Costner. as a more modern day actor. If you want to talk
whatever.
I really like Jimmy Stewart. I really liked John Wayne, of course. Those were really the big actors that.
Well, I'm picking up westerns, so I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite western?
Probably Dances with Wolves.
Okay, great. Kevin Costner.
Some of the older movies I really like too. You know, all the John Wayne and Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns, I like them.
Okay. Favorite singer?
Individual singer or group?
Individual. Yeah, well, singer if you're more into groups, whichever one, singer, group, whichever. Or you can pick both.
I would probably have to say the Eagles from back in the day.
Okay. You a Hotel California guy or Desperado?
Desperado.
Yeah. Slow.
A little slower, yeah.
Okay. If you could meet one person from any time in history, doesn't have to be sports, but any person, any time in history, who would you like to meet, and what would your first question be for them?
There's a couple of people, you know. Jesus Christ, of course.
Okay.
Secondly, probably John Kennedy.
Okay. And what would you ask both?
I would just ask Jesus, you know, what is it going to take to get to heaven, and what is it going to take to straighten this country out right now?
Okay. Now, since you mentioned John Kennedy, big fan of Kennedy?
I was. Excuse me. I was actually in a Catholic school, grade school, at the time of his assassination. I was in 3rd or 4th grade, I believe. That was 1962. And it just is something that has stuck with me. And I've watched a number of documentaries on him. And he was just really a very interesting person to me. You know, the Cuban Missile Crisis, all those things really intrigued me.
Okay. And finally, what is the saying you live your life by, if you have one?
The saying I live by. I don't know that I really have a saying to live by. The cream will rise.
Okay. Well, folks, there you have it. Another show in the can with another person from Oklahoma. And again, to those people from the East Coast, even though I love you, you said to me, what are you going to do in Tulsa, Oklahoma? I'm going to interview interesting people. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to continue to do that. And as Frank Sinatra sang so eloquently, so long ago, the best is yet to come. Bad Brad